When you get a retirement village contract, there are 5 broad categories of considerations that you should be looking at. The first one is information, getting all information that you need. And never has it been more accurate to say that knowledge is power when it comes to retirement village contracts. The law is very much on the retiree side in terms of the information that they can get. And there are a couple of really key documents that all potential retiree should be getting hold of. And the first one is the village comparison document. And by law, the retirement villages need to make these documents available on the websites, and so it's very easy to pick these documents up and compare different villages. Next document to get your hands on is called the prospective costs document, and that will list all the costs that will be relevant for your stay in a particular retirement village. You will need to provide some information to the village in order for them to complete that, but that document will provide a very good snapshot of how much it will cost you to buy into the village, live in the village, and then how much you will pay when you leave the village. But there's a lot of other information as well that's available, the financial statements of the retirement village, even including examples of other people's contracts that they may have entered into for that particular village. So it's really important to get all information that you can get before you sign anything. The second sort of broad category is money. Money is always a big concern beyond the initial buy-in into the retirement village. The day-to-day expenses and also the expenses that you'll have to pay when you leave the village. And these often come as a shock to people when they realise that actually they're going to be paying a lot more to the village when they leave than they anticipated, and there are also ongoing costs that people have to pay after they've left the village. And of course the final kicker is you may not get your capital payment back, your exit entitlement, for up to 18 months after you've left the village. And that's a big consideration and sort of factor to plan for if you move on to somewhere else and have to fund your accommodation in the new location. The third one is the bylaws and the rules that govern your day-to-day life within the village. A lot of people moving from their own house or from their own accommodation will be living pretty much as they please. Moving into a retirement village, it's high density, there are other rules and regulations for quiet enjoyment of other residents. And these will be quite extensive, these rules and regulations, and they will either be listed in a bylaws or the lease that you sign with the retirement village, or maybe even a licence. And these might extend to pets, to smoking, to whether or not you can play a musical instrument, to where you can park your car, visitors, how often you can have them, how long they can stay, and all sorts of other things. So it's really important to understand what these rules are and how they're going to impact your particular lifestyle. The fourth consideration is the operator. Now, the retirement village operator has a massive influence on the quality of life for retirement village residents. So it's really important to understand who this operator is, how they operate, and what kind of reputation they have in the market. Fortunately, there is a lot of information out there, and it's quite easy to investigate the operator. You have access to their financial statements. You can see whether or not they're a responsible operator. It's also worthwhile speaking to residents and visiting internet forums and Facebook groups to get a candid view of the operator. We find it's also useful to speak to the staff in the facility, not just the sales staff, but the casual staff who might work in the coffee shop or around the pool or wherever it happens to be. Because if they are happy and if there are low turnover rates, then that says a lot about the people skills and the culture of the operator. The fifth consideration to think about is the long game. When you move into a retirement village, you really want to stay there for as long as you possibly can. And so it's important to understand whether or not the retirement village is set up to allow for ageing in place, and that the right kind of medical services and support functions are available to allow you to do that. And it might simply be the way the retirement village has been designed to enable you to accommodate reduced mobility or additional services that you might need. But it might be simply whether or not those medical services are reasonably close by so they can be accessed on a fairly regular basis and so readily available. Obviously it's the long game. We don't necessarily want to think about that today, but it's important to plan for the future. And combined, these are the 5 big factors that we find that are really sort of the conversations that we have with clients about retirement village contracts and the areas that they have the most concerns about.